Hey everyone, welcome to the Townhall. It's the fifth now, which is a little bit crazy. That means it's 5 months now in. And we have a special guest today, Maria, who is our product director who just recently joined the company. So she will introduce herself in a second, but I just want to give you a rundown of what we're doing with the Townhall. The Townhall is a monthly format that we are bringing to you to just show you how we are advancing the game and what other activities we're doing. And this time we're actually also discussing the latest playtest that we were doing in the past. In terms of the content that we're going to cover, we are going to show you new content, updated content, and then have also a small surprise at the end. But yeah, so let's start. Maria, maybe you can give a quick introduction, who you are and what you're going to do at Pixion.
Who I am? That's a philosophical question. What kind of stuff do you want me to cover about who I am? You have to give me some constraints.
Hmm. Maybe let's summarize it in one paragraph within like 5 minutes as a ChatGPT summary.
I am. I'm from Portugal originally. I sound American because my mom's Canadian. I've been working generally in the tech industry and joined games a number of years ago. I don't know what else to say about me. I like board games. I play a lot of Destiny. I do play a lot of Destiny. What am I doing at Pixion? So I only joined a week and a half ago, so I'm very fresh here. I didn't review all of the materials to try to be
Nice.
helpful in this conversation. So I'll be supporting Pixion and the team in analyzing the strategy and understanding the community, deciding like what we're developing in the game, supporting the lore building. I'll just keep it at that.
Nice. One extremely important question I have to ask because I was looking into it recently. If I want to go back to Destiny, what class are you playing?
Hunter main forever.
Okay,
Although people say a lot of bad things about Hunter, but I like it.
I need to admit the only class I played as well was the Hunter, and I was playing a melee build back then, but it was before the first expansion came out, so I dropped out a little bit. Um, but
Well, that was
no,
ages ago.
I
What?
I know, like I'm old. No, um, but it's a fun game. Yeah, it's super nice to have you. There's a lot of things to
Yeah,
do.
thanks.
Yeah. So super excited. All good. Um, cool. Then let's just jump in. You probably have seen Sienna just licking my hand here. She's just sitting next to me, literally. And she's just like jumping into the screen a little bit. So all good.
Cute.
But you might see like a flicker here and there. Cool.
I
So,
actually
hmm?
I don't know what the surprise is, so I'm looking forward to the surprise.
um, So the first thing I actually wanted to cover is the updated bear visuals because we shared in actually in April that we are working on the bear. Um, in the game, it's a little bit different. So if you have played the latest playtests, the big lizard dude that you have, right? The big one with the two swords, there's actually just an upscaled version that is called Golem, which is actually supposed to be the bear. So we still have a lot of way to go, I think. But our team has been working really hard to create a really cool visual. And we shared this one with you the last time we had a town hall, actually. But it advanced a little bit. So I think like that's just like my assumption. Maybe Maria, you have a different one, but I think this one looks a little bit cooler. It's just like more bulky. The previous one was a little bit too human, if that makes sense. So I like the direction that the team has been going so far.
Sorry, I couldn't see the slides, so I'm opening the
Oh,
slide.
oh, yeah.
I mean, I've only been here for a week and a half, so I can say it looks really, really cool.
Yeah, I think the art style for Fableborne is really like something special. I think that's pretty much the first thing that really draw me to the game. It's like
Yeah.
how nice it looks and how nice it can look.
Yeah, I think it just paints the story in a visual way, and I like the fantasy element, but it also seems to have a little bit of a dark side. So
Mm.
I agree. Well, the art is one of the reasons why I was really looking forward to joining the project, and I like the bear has like fire fingers, fire nails. I wonder what its attack is going to be.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Reminds me actually. So the team has been working on like sidetracking. The team has been working on a bleed effect for Leon for a while, and I can remember there was this funny discussion about okay, so if Leon has a bleed attack on his auto attacks now, does it mean the towers are gonna bleed now? Um, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the direction was, but I think it's now like a fire dot probably. Makes more
Mm,
sense, like in terms of consistency. But then again, like if you play any MMORPG, like you will see that like oh, there's like a huge metal golem. It's like okay, let's just like put poison on it. Okay, sure. Uh,
yeah.
it's fine if it's immersion breaking a little bit from time to time, I guess. Um, but yeah, it looks really nice. We don't really have a date yet when we are updating the visuals though. But I think the next step pretty much from the team is, as far as I understand, finishing the 3D model. So gonna be very interesting to see it live. Um,
I like that the bear looks very fluffy.
oh yeah, like it looks like I think it's quite unique in terms of like the model itself because I've not
Mm.
seen like usually you have like a really bulky bear or you have like something that we had previously pretty much where like it looks very human. But I think it kind of combines for me like both worlds pretty well.
Yeah.
Um, cool. So next topic, like everyone who has played the playtest actually will know that it was super annoying. To explain, right? So we added obstacles on the map itself, and that means it should just block projectiles because otherwise it's difficult to block projectiles, right, in an open map. But what was happening is that you couldn't actually like run around the obstacles, and they would completely block you. And then you would see, for example, let's say you play AV, you run around, and then you see suddenly, hey, I want to just dodge something. I run behind the stone or like the big rock and you can't and you're just getting hit but we actually fixed it like it's a minor win, right? But it's finally happening, guys. So um yeah, so that has been fixed. Just wanted to bring it up. I think like it's just like this tiny things that the team is adding from time to time, which is really nice in terms of
Hmm.
detail. um oh, wait a second. Go. And the next part is player progression. That's gonna be, or it's currently one of the biggest things that the team is working on is how are you as a player progressing in the game, not just upgrading your units, but then also in terms of what's your long-term progression, what's your player level, right? And we can see here in the top left corner, next to your profile picture, you're going to have uh, a bar that fills up with XP and it shows you how much XP you will need for the next level. And then it will show you what your current level is, basically. Um, and what it does, um, I will just show you how you actually gain XP first, maybe. So there are many ways how you can gain XP. So one, for example, is just placing units, upgrading units. The next slide, here we go. Um, you are also getting XP by actually upgrading heroes. And that's a significant amount of XP that you're actually getting for that, which is really nice. Um, so that's pretty much the two main, I think, sources. Like Maria, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm mistaken, but upgrading your heroes and upgrading units uh, is like huge sources for XP that we're adding. Um, but with that, there comes also some restrictions. So, for example, um, some upgrade levels are going to be locked behind player experience. It might be a little bit annoying for the people who have played without um, I think Maria, you dropped out, I think, of the stream. I can't see you anymore. Just let's do a quick break and try to bring her back. I'm not sure what happened. I'm so sorry. Okay, wait a second. Okay, she is. We are trying to bring her back. Like, she was here 1 week and now she's gone again. No, it's gonna be fine. Otherwise, I will just quickly pause the stream if I can and just try to invite her differently. Okay, I think you're back. I think it works now. I'm not sure exactly what happened.
It just froze you, and then I realized that I had dropped.
Oh yeah, like I mean, like just give me a studio already, you know, like just like a recording studio. Let's do that. Let's do something. Let's build a recording studio in London just for me, so we can do this. Like, yeah. So where did we drop off? I think I was just talking about not my cat, who is annoying. I'm sorry. So we were talking about the player experience, right? And it might be a little bit annoying for people when we're actually locking some upgrades behind, but I think in the long term, that's also going to feel much more rewarding based compared to the first playtest, basically, where you could just upgrade to a certain level as much as you could, right?
Yeah, it just gives short-term goals, medium-term goals, so that you play the game every day and you feel like you're making progress. And so it's a stepping stone in creating a game that's long-lasting and has a good experience, rather than you arrive and then from day one you have everything unlocked. And at least myself, I found myself a little bit overwhelmed of, oh, what should I upgrade? What should I invest in? And so these kind of progression mechanics just help us shape the new player journey to help them onboard into Fableborne.
Exactly, and I think like any RPG without any progression is not gonna work, right? So I think it's a really good step ahead, and you can do a lot with the player progression in the end. But yeah, so let's
Yeah,
move. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
And this is just the start of the content. So when we're building these kinds of systems, it's also imagining, Fableborn will be here for years and we're going to be adding more content. So that will become even more overwhelming for the new players. And it has a usefulness also in the long life of the game.
Exactly, and I think it provides you with like those like small incremental points of excitement, right? When you unlock something new that you can use, and for me, that's always something where like, oh my God, I just want to play a little bit longer to just unlock this. That's like how I got into Clash of Clans for a while. It's like, oh, I can't stop.
Yeah, same with Destiny. It just feels so satisfying. I finish my workday and then I go and I have a bit more power. It's just a good feeling.
Exactly. Cool. Then let's move on to the playtest feedback overall and just explore it a little bit. We also shared last week a blog post. If you have not checked it out, it's on medium.fableborn.com if you want to have a look. But we're going to cover a couple of the slides. And one we want to explore today is a little bit what people like most about Fableborne, and we can see very clearly that most importantly, game progression and gameplay is really fundamental for our players right now. Which I think maybe Maria, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what we want to see. We really want to build a game that is fun, that is engaging. So it's good that the player interest is pretty much aligned with what we want to do.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing that gameplay, game progression, and the art style, which are really things that we care about when we're talking day to day about what are we going to do next to the game and how to improve the progression. What content do we need to make the gameplay even more fun and balancing? So these are exactly the kind of things that makes us feel like, okay, yeah, we're focusing on the right things and we should keep on this track.
Exactly.
Although I
Mhm.
just saw that Lucati said that a beetle could replace me, so I don't know what my future is on this game. I might just become a beetle.
I mean, as long as you're not like an exploding beetle, they're just super fun. But um, I think we I can remember like for the beetle we were discussing a couple of names. I think it didn't make it. But one of the suggestions I think was bomb beetle, because it like explodes. Or term.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
and termite. I like that one as well because it's exploding. But it's also termite, but it doesn't really fit like the theme that well.
As
Cool.
long as it's not Maria.
Yeah. Um, but I think what's really important, and we see that as well in terms of how people actually perceive the game after they've played it. It's rated currently with 8.4, which is really, really high. I think the last playtest, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last rating was 7.7. So we
Mm.
improved by zero point 0.7 points compared to the last playtest. But again, like take it with a grain of salt. It's really just like a small cohort of players. So that might be also biased, right? Because you guys, I know you've been with the project for a while. So you are super supportive, but you might be a little bit biased towards us, which is not a bad thing per se. But if you want to look at the mass market, maybe we need to take that into account, right? Um,
Yeah, but at the same time, we're working on the game behind closed scenes still, and we don't have market data to really understand if we're going in the right direction or not. And so it's so important, and I'm very thankful that you, the players in the community, take the time to fill out these surveys, because even if we do have to take it with a little grain of salt, like seeing these numbers, it just gives us this feeling of, okay, yeah, we should keep pursuing this, and yeah, it just brings back motivation because we're working hard to make a fun game, and knowing that you're finding it fun, well, that's the reason why we're doing it, really.
exactly. And I think, like, let's say, for example, we would drop to like 6.5, right?
Mm,
Like, at that point, our action plan would be, for example, to find out why are we dropping now in terms of,
exactly, yeah.
so it
Yeah,
really,
the comparison will allow us, like, maybe not to like fully understand how enjoyable the game is, but like you're saying, if we see a drop or if we see a big increase, like you mentioned from the previous playtest, it just gives us a signal that, oh, we should go investigate this, or it means we're going in the right direction.
exactly. And it seems like we're going to the right direction for now, which is really good. And again, like as I said, like it's incredibly important for the team because they've been working so hard. Like, yeah, you can't believe like how hard some people work in this company to just get Fableborn into a you know state where we can actually launch the game globally in the future. And it just helps us like make people more motivated and they're gonna be more committed, right? Um,
Yeah, it just keeps us, like, it just buoys us, really, getting this kind of feedback. It keeps us motivated. It's still, at least a year, let's say, that we're working behind the closed doors to try to get a game out. And so any inspiration and positivity, yeah, it's very welcomed.
Awesome. So in terms of the heroes that people played, I think it's not very different actually to what we've seen in the last playtest, but it shifted even more. So I think the last time Leon was around 25-ish percent, if I'm not mistaken, and now he's at 20%. And like at least like to my understanding, like everyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what happened is that people were shifting towards, let's say, using the golem unit more, which means Leon is really like not a good counter to that. And I think that shifted a little bit in terms of the meta. It shifted how people used the heroes overall. Um, but I think, oh yeah, we don't have the slide why people shifted, which is fine. But pretty much that explains. It doesn't mean like we should neglect Leon. I think balancing is really, really difficult right now as well, right? Because we are gonna add more and more content, meaning like the balance will be all over the place anyway. I think like I would say the goal for the team right now is just to keep the balance in a way that it still makes sense, right? But eventually, things will be upside down probably anyway.
And it's also a question of how much we need to perfect the balancing at this point because we're adding more heroes, they're in development, and we're still testing how, especially now with the hero swapping, we're testing how can we create combinations where there is a deeper strategy of, oh, this kind of island, I'm going to bring these heroes because they combine in ways that bring an advantage to this kind of layout and like whatever it is. So we
Yeah,
want to allow some room to then balance out the interactions between the different heroes.
exactly. And like once we add actually the fourth and fifth hero, which we're not going to talk about, but maybe you guys can actually guess in the chat what it could be. But like it's gonna change, right? Like significantly. Um, as well with new talents, right? So we'll be still aiming to add more talents to the game overall, and that also will change pretty much how you are gonna play the game.
Yeah. As well, Luxie said in the chat about Kiara's talents were a really good role, and so DPS was good. So it's also interesting to see how the talent roles are affecting who you're going to focus more on.
Exactly, exactly. I think it's also going to be quite interesting to see once you can actually have multiple heroes from the same. So let's say you have like three different Kiaras and you build them differently. It's going to be quite interesting to see how people are actually using different
Mm.
Kiaras in the end. Um,
Hmm.
and I think there was this cool talent. I'm not sure if it's currently in the game where you can actually reduce the cooldown of your ultimate by auto attacking, which I really, really like. I love those interactions. Like they're so fun. Um, but yeah, we're gonna see like how the balance will develop. So again, like as I said, like we should not like look at it right now as closely because it's gonna change regardless. Um,
Yeah, and then there's the big question about when you have multiple heroes, sorry, the same hero multiple times that you can do different builds. We have to test like, is it fun to bring a three of the same heroes as a squad
yeah,
into the raid? Is it not fun? Should we limit only one of the hero type? So yeah, these are still explorations we need to test.
exactly. And maybe for everyone who is new, like Fableborne right now is still in an alpha state, so we are really, really early in terms of the development. Like I think it has progressed quite well, but as you said, there's a lot of things still to figure out. Um, and
Yeah,
yeah, hmm?
I think it's a great time to like join the community, and I'm so keen to listen to what you have to say because I feel like the game is in this point where it's still very malleable with its future, but we have that core gameplay there, so your feedback can be more specific for us to take that on board. So yeah, very very looking forward to just hearing what everyone's saying in these closed play tests in the alpha.
Exactly, and even so, like even outside of the alpha, right? Like just join Discord. You
Mm.
can always chat with us and like ask us any questions. To be honest, like just be open about it. Ask us anything, really. We are not gonna not answer you. Um, cool. So in terms of rating strategy, I think again, it's really depending on what you guys told us about the meta shift and this time also the gold stealing, right? So the gold stealing was a new mechanic that was added during the last playtest, um, meaning were able to actually drain the gold from other people, and that actually was pretty much the biggest factor of people changing their raiding strategy and the builder strategy as well, right? Um, so makes sense. Um, in terms of the rating strategy overall, I think what we also saw, and that's quite cool, is that people actually started using the hotspot mechanic more, which I think in the first playtest, people were like 50-50 whether they are going to use it or not. But, like I think people realized that you can actually combo quite cool things together, especially with Leon and Kiara. I think, like, has anyone actually figured out any combo with RV yet that is really, really effective? Because, like, I have been struggling, to be honest, to find a combo with RV that is super effective. But I usually play Kiara and Leon, to be honest. So uh, I'm a little bit. I like Avi. He's fine.
Poor, poor Abby. I think Abby might be crying.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. He's like it sometimes it feels like everyone is bashing on Avi, but like he's legitimately also super fun to play. Especially with like
Yeah.
all the attack speed, like you can just zoom around and just like fire a flurry of arrows.
Yeah, if we look at the comparison of the preferred hero of Abby, quite close to Kiara, less, but still a good character. I'm actually happy. Oh, sorry,
Hmm?
I don't know
Oh
if
no,
I'm dropping again. Sorry.
no, you're here. All fine.
I'm actually happy to see the rating strategy. Sorry, did the preferred hero change since the closed playtest? And then the rating strategy, did it change? I'm actually really happy to see that they're about equivalent
Hmm?
because we introduced the hero swapping. And if we introduced that and there was no change in the strategy, I think that would be a signal for us to go back to the drawing board and understand if we made a meaningful enough change in the gameplay. But seeing about a 35% change in how you approach the game, that's quite positive. I think we'll keep working on it because ideally it would be more. Yeah, it's a good signal.
I think it's also going to be like a huge issue if people just sticking with one hero, because then
Yeah.
then we also made the mistake of like creating a hero that is just tailored to a few specific people realistically, right? And if you're never gonna play AV, then it's just not that well designed.
Well, and all
Um,
the heroes should have their own usage depending
yeah.
on what kind of island you're facing and the enemies. So it's also a preparation as we increase the complexity of the game that each hero ideally has like the strength where they come into play and are useful. Now, I'm saying this is the ideal, but all of us that play games, I don't know, like League of Legends, like any game that has different characters, we all know that the meta usually has like these specific characters that are the powerful ones. We'll try to balance as much as we can, but we can never guarantee 100% every single hero will be as powerful.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to like why people have used Leon not that much, because the meta was to use a lot of the golems like in the last playtest, and poor Leon, like he's just struggling against the bad golems. I'm so sorry
Oh.
for him, but it's gonna be fine. Yeah, I actually found that it's super fun going back to RV. It's super fun to actually kite the golems. Just they are not gonna touch you anyway. Like it's gonna be fine.
Mm.
That's my use case for RV actually. Just kite golems.
See, Ali does have a use.
See? um, cool. In terms of the improvements, there was actually quite a lot, but I think there was not something that was very special or pointed out by multiple people. So, for example, some of you guys pointed out that you want more variety, but I think the responses were quite limited. So, for example, I think there maybe were like two responses regarding the variety of creatures, which is also a good thing. So we don't have something that is specific to improve, but it also leaves us, I think, with a little bit of room in terms of interpretation what to improve specifically. If there would be one feature that peaks, let's say, for example, with the first pre-alpha actually that we did, right? We saw that while the twin stick movement was fine, a lot of people struggled with it still, and then we improved it. And then with the with the first playtest, we saw that people were struggling with Liam and how to actually move around with Liam, and that was improved. But now I think based on this year, like it's gonna be a little bit difficult to actually identify how to improve it. We do have the full list, don't get me wrong. But as we covered as well, in terms of balance and adjustments, that's going to be something that is always going to shift anyway. So that's something that we are going to look at to a very limited degree. But yeah, cool. And yeah, one extremely important thing, obviously. I mean, it's not super crazy important because the game is still in development and there will be known issues, there will be bugs. We try to share as many as we can find on Discord. Um, and I think compared to the first pre-alpha and then also the first playtest, we have actually seen less bugs overall, which is really good. Um, Honestly, with the pre-alpha, we had way too many issues reported. But since our QA manager joined and the team is more thorough with it as well, I think it's a decent balance overall.
I mean, definitely, because the question is any bugs or crashes, and 25% of players who participated seeing any bugs or crashes, that's
Yeah,
actually really positive, even if it were a live game.
yeah,
So yeah, it's a good indicator.
yeah. I've seen. I would say in like my career, I've seen much worse feedback, to put it lightly. Um, cool. Oh, big announcement. Oh my God.
Ooh,
We kind of
is
spoiled it already. Oh,
is
sorry.
this a surprise? Is this a surprise?
Kind of, yes. We are actually going to the Avalanche Summit. We're gonna share. So we already shared the announcement initially, um, and I'm gonna share a couple of announcements as well on Twitter. Um, One cool thing that we're doing on site, which unfortunately not many people can actually participate because it's going to be in Barcelona. So we're gonna do two things, which is really amazing. It's really the first time we're doing it, where Avalanche has a booth where people can actually play Fableborne on location as one of the few selected games for Avalanche, which is really, really nice. And we're setting it up currently, so hopefully everything goes well. Hopefully, like I just didn't jinx it. Maybe I did. I'm not sure. Um,
I don't think you did.
but yeah, also we are going to do something really, really cool. So we've partnered up with Lost Worlds. Lost Worlds, they have a app, and with that app, you can actually scan QR codes in specific locations and then mint different kind of NFTs. And there are a lot of functionalities, lots of utilities you can bind to it. And we've decided to introduce a new NFT. It's kind of the first NFT that you actually can see for Fableborn, and it's going to be called the Parchment of True Calling. And it has a very specific use case that we're not going to talk about yet for the upcoming mint. Uh,
No.
no, but it has some cool utility that you will see, and it's going to give everyone who has it a bonus during the mint. Not an insane bonus because we don't want it to make it unfair,
Yeah, of
but
course.
yeah, we want to give people who participate in our events something. So just stay tuned a little bit. So don't be disappointed. Don't be disappointed if you cannot join the Avalanche Summit. There is something coming for you as well if you've been part of the project for a while. So um, hopefully that can give some hints. But yeah, so the cool mechanic is actually so how it works right now. If you go to the summit, you need to find a QR code on location, scan it, and then you can mint the parchment of fainted calling. And in the app, in the Lost Worlds app, you need to then claim that NFT, and it's going to be upgraded to a non-tradable version. So you can see here that's the tradable version without the glow, and then the non-tradable version is the one with the glow. Super excited to see how it goes. It's really the first time we do something like that. So I think everyone in the team is a little bit sweating. But luckily, Avalanche is taking care of a lot of things, not everything, but they have been also quite supportive on it. So
A lot of meetings have been held. I actually think it came at a good point, because it created a lot of conversations, not only for the AVAC summit, but also just talking about what we are doing in this case, how it can be applied to other things that Lucas doesn't allow us to talk about. Yeah, so it's good, and it was also honestly a good time to join Fableborne and the company to just understand overall what will be coming in the pipeline.
Yeah, we've been a little bit cryptic lately about what we're doing with the mint. That will gonna resolve soon, probably within like the next couple of weeks, and it's gonna be a little bit more interesting. So just stay tuned. Just follow the project, follow us on Twitter, join the Discord. Community is super welcome. So yeah, and then let's move on. Otherwise, we're running out of time a little bit.
Oh, well,
Yeah. Oh,
wait,
quite.
wait. It was
Yeah.
the first time. It's the first time we're showing the art of a Fableborn NFT, right?
If you don't count the tweet that went out, including the announcement, because it's also on the announcement asset. But yes, it's the
Okay.
first time. It's the first time we officially
Yes.
show it.
So, like, any feedback you have about the visuals, like, super welcome to understand if we're going in the right direction. I think it looks really cool, but they're the people that need to tell us if it does look really cool, because I'm biased.
Cool. And then let's move on to the questions real quick. We do have a couple of to cover, and I will also pick some from Discord that you guys actually asked us and that I hadn't had the time to actually put in. But yeah, let's go with the first one. Do you have any information on how the competitive tournaments will be organized? Will it be similar to the Shatterlands Invitational, or will there be a different approach? Very good question. Um, it's something that we are discussing internally right now, how we are going to create new competitive events for the game, be it during maybe close playtests or for the upcoming alpha. Um, it's not going to be the same format. I can say that, but I cannot really clarify or give more information how it will actually play out, because we don't really want to share too much in detail yet. And the second part is simply we are just working things out still in more detail. But yeah, there will be competitive events for sure. That I can guarantee.
Yeah, and the format that we do apply, and then when you do manage to experience it, we'll also be super keen about your feedback, because the thinking about how we're currently designing it is that if it is successful, it is a template for us to understand how to proceed with this kind of competitive tournaments. So yeah, we'll be on the lookout to understand if you found it fun, how we could improve it. So share your thoughts, please.
And I think that also goes to a question that Luke asked, like just today, where he was asking if you can share anything about Pixion League. Not really. Like as Maria said as well, it's a lot of things that we're working currently out, and your feedback is super welcome. Um, the events that we're planning right now, they're not gonna be Pixion League though. I think as with the game, we are trying to iterate and come up with something really really cool and unique. But it will take time and it will take feedback as well, right? It's not something that we can just do and just like, hey, here's Pixie League, that's how it's gonna work. There are a lot of things that are just intertwined with like all those systems. So it's going to be an iterative process over the next months for sure.
Hmm.
Cool. The next question. So besides feedbacks received during the closed alpha, what gameplay aspects, mechanics do you think need the most improvement? Um, Very good question. Maybe Maria, you can take that.
Me? So one of the improvements we are already looking at is the experience of switching between characters, heroes, not characters, heroes, because the way that you're playing the game, the thin lines can make it difficult, especially if we want to build out cool combos or you have to quickly switch. So we're reviewing that interaction. We're also reviewing the interaction with the hero recovery and just thinking more generally about that in terms of what is the flow if all of your heroes are in recovery. How can we make it really obvious that you're going into a raid without having a full party? So yeah, it's trying to make the experience of the recovery less prone to you entering a raid without a full team. And then the progression systems that we discussed earlier on to like shape a little bit your journey in the game and give you, I think at least I experience almost a choice paralysis, especially not having played the game before. And so just having a bit more elements of, you should focus on this first and then focus on that. So that's something that we're looking into. Do you have
Cool.
anything else like this?
Um, not really. I think it explains it quite well. Like I think one issue that I encountered actually recently because I was playing the build that we are gonna have during the Avalanche Summit, and I was playing a little bit around with it, and I just did a raid, and I found that hey, my Leon is gone because like I forgot that he actually is in recovery now. I'm not saying he died because that's mean. But yeah, I just joined the raid without Lee and it was just confused where he is, and then remembered, oh yeah, we have the recovery mechanic, right? He's just currently not available for me. So yeah, you're totally right. I think that is something that we can pretty much improve quite a way. I think everyone is aligned on that. And to be honest, there's just gonna be a lot of different iterations and changes, right? Until we really get it right. And that's also the reason why we're doing the playtests, right? To really get that feedback on a constant basis and then address it almost immediately. Um, cool. And then can you explain the objective of the echo recovery feature that was introduced in the latest playtest, which allows a character to recover after dying during the raid? He didn't, he or she didn't die. The character actually went into the Shadow Realm. Uh, no, but so yeah, it's a penalty, right? For not playing correctly, and it also creates a way for people actually to wait if they don't play correctly, if that makes sense. Like Maria, like do you have anything like in terms of what it adds in terms of gameplay, maybe?
Yeah, it goes back to just looking at game design in general that we want to. It's not the kind of game like Destiny where you have hours and hours and hours of content that you can play. And then, yeah, I think I'd have to speak in more game design terms that mobile games in general needs a pace. It's like a pacing mechanic, just like the progression of the buildings and unlocking the talents for your heroes. It just creates like a pacing for new players and your sessions. So if you, for example, if you didn't have the hero recovery, you could just be raid, and that wouldn't incentivize you to maybe stop for a little while and think, oh, okay, I should focus on my island and look at the new buildings I've unlocked and sort of go in between the two areas of the game. We still need to balance the recovery feature, and we're also just going a little bit back to the drawing board to understand if it's doing exactly this. So we'll have to see how it shapes out really over the next few months. But yeah, it's just finding a way to create pacing in your gameplay. But I hope that makes sense, Lucas.
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's also something that maybe like, people overlook a little bit because it's never intended to have just three heroes, right? It's something that, we are gonna iterate and eventually have more heroes that you can also switch through, right? But right now we only have three and you can select three. So if you lose one, you lose a
Yeah,
third of your roster, right?
it
But that's
is. It is not meant to be like a punishing mechanic, and that's why we need to. I go back to the drawing board and, like you're saying, understand because this is meant that you have a bigger roster of heroes, and so it also creates motivation in that pacing of, oh, I haven't tried this hero yet, but now that I'm down a hero, I should probably try it. Yeah, you touch other parts of the game really.
Yeah, I think, like going back to like one of the earlier points where like, hey, you can have different builds of Kiara, right? Worst case, you just run around with one Kiara all the time, and I think that's not
Mm.
really the goal. And that also goes back to the next point, right? Eventually, we've not shared too many details yet about how we're gonna use the heroes as NFTs, but like, let's assume we do use the heroes as NFTs, right? Uh, it doesn't make sense to just have one Kiara, right? It's just not how the ecosystem could work realistically. I think that's also something to keep in mind, right? Um,
Well,
but
yes, that's true. But at the end of the day, we're making like a really fun game, and so trying to design not just like the utility of the NFTs. Of
yeah.
course, it's a blockchain game, so we definitely want to take that into account, and it's always part of our design decisions. Um, but yeah, like we're designing a game that is fun first. It feels good to come back every day. It feels good to explore all the different areas and the characters, and so to TBD what comes next.
Exactly. That also partially answers, I think, question number 4. So, like it's something that we have considered in the past to sell basically heroes as NFTs. For now, the first mint will look a little bit different. So stay tuned. Like we're gonna share hopefully soon how that can look like, and maybe you can start guessing how it could look like. But it's not going to be heroes, which is a little bit against the current sometimes. I feel like, but I think it's the right decision not to sell the heroes right away. Um, that also means, though, we have not 100% decided yet if they're gonna be NFTs or not, right? That's always something that until we really like put a rubber stamp on it, like it's not gonna be fully decided.
Yeah, and the kind of like free to play multiplayer mobile, sorry, free to play multiplayer games, not just on mobile. We have to be very careful when making any decision that can be put under the umbrella of selling power, because then how does that affect the competitive play field? Yeah, so these are the discussions we're having at the moment, where if we sell a hero as an NFT, you can basically, if the hero has good talents, you could buy power. I'm not saying it's in the stone that we're not going to do it, but these are still discussions that are in flight on how to sell NFTs that fit within a game that is competitive in nature.
yeah, I think it's just like it just showcases like how like complex like our game can be or will be eventually, right? And I think like as I said as well, like if it's let's say we are not as like if we would not be some sort of competitive game, it wouldn't matter too much. But since you're competing against other people, it's adds another layer of difficulty for us to balance that aspect, right? And
Mm.
we don't want to be pay to win as well, at least to a degree where you cannot buy power and just like be super strong. We had like in the past a lot of discussions about how we can make sure that it's not happening and that people are not going to go, super power mode basically by just like, emptying their wallet, basically. But as Maria said, like it's gonna be a lot of discussion still, and it's currently actually not. So monetization actually is a focus, but in terms of how the mint will look like, it's not going to be a focus for a while. Um,
Yeah. And I think one of I don't know if you all played the Battlefront game, the Star Wars, is it Star Wars Battlefront?
mm,
I think it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
And there was an issue with how they were selling power, where you could buy mods, and the mods, if you had the mods, they would just be super overpowered, and you would beat everyone in the competitive game. And for you to be able to get those mods as a free player, so without spending money, you have to spend like 10 years or something playing the game. It was just an
yes, no,
unreasonable amount of time. So like this is what we do not want to do. And so even if we are like selling what could be considered power in a certain way, we have to make sure that that's all balanced with, okay, if a player doesn't spend that amount of money, how long will it take for them to get there? Yeah, very. No, sorry, you go.
no, no, exactly. And I think like I have another example where I can remember one game I played, and you could like buy all cool cosmetics, right? And at some point they were actually adding stats to the cosmetics, like as a stealth
Oh
patch. At
no.
some point, it's like okay, no, I
Oh
just like I
no.
dropped that game right away because like no, you can't do that, right? So it's also really, really important to make sure that the game, is not only balanced that way, but it's also fair in terms of what we're doing, and we try, or like we want to be as open about it as possible, because building a community, like we are not the regular Web2 mobile game publisher that is just creating a game in the background with like all these predatory patterns in the background. So that's also why feedback is extremely important for us if we, or when we actually present the monetization. So you can give us actually the feedback in terms of like how we might have missed something, right? I think that's always something where I'm really amazed with the community, where people like find something that we have not thought about at all. And now suddenly, okay, we need to actually fix that because otherwise it's gonna be abused, right? So
Yeah, and this is why I love working in games, because it just reaches a point where the player base sometimes knows more than you do about the intricacies of the game. And so 100% that when we start introducing these systems, we just want to listen to all your feedback and take it into account. It doesn't say like we're going to make the changes that you're suggesting, because we have to consider like the overall design of the game. But for sure that the community can just see things that we cannot.
exactly. And realistically, probably you guys are going to be playing the game more than we do. Like we play it a
Yeah.
lot, but cool. Maybe we just want to round up question 4 real quick before we move on to the next one. So yes, we're working on the next heroes actually. So plural. But yeah, we can't show anything yet. We want to, but maybe in the future. We don't want to spoil what's going to happen and how that hero actually will play, um, and how they actually, or where they're from, like what their backstory is. Like there's so much to share, but that's going to be at a later point. Um, so moving on to question 5 real quick. So what roles will the 4 factions play within the game? Can you offer any insights into images that were shared during the Twitter advent in December? So we shared a little bit about how we're designing characters, for example, that fit into specific factions. That was really like an exercise for the art team to create specific looks for specific, um, I would say, factions, in a sense where we look at the faction as an archetype almost, right? Where you have like, a technological advanced faction, well, they are going to look differently than the people who are more tribal and more, living in nature, basically, right? So that was pretty much an exercise by the art team to see like how to create a blueprint, basically, in terms of like how a character can look like. Um, in terms of what the factions will play a role, I think there's also a lot of discussion right now how we can actually integrate the factions. It's something for a later stage, though, I would say. Like Maria, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's not like our core focus right now. Um,
It is a focus at the moment. It's actually a big focus at the
mm,
moment. Um, what can I share? So Fableborne is a competitive game, and so we want to create different layers of interesting competition within the world. And there's the Esperwood, there's the Raw, there's the heroes, and then there's the factions. And so we're currently just doing a concept high level of how can all of these elements in the world come into play to give you like different reasons why you want to compete and create like cool tournaments and cool events in these different layers. I don't think I can share more than that at the moment, but there might be an element of competition between these factions.
yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think it's also like one of the concerns that we have is that it might get unbalanced with like certain factions. So a lot of consideration. Um,
That is exactly what we're also talking about. how to keep them balanced. Because anytime you have factions that the players can choose to belong to, yeah, we need to figure out how to balance that to not create an overpowered faction. So
yeah,
it is on our minds.
nice. And I think there will be some updates in the future about the factions themselves, but don't put a nail to it yet. We'll keep you posted. when there's something new to share about the factions itself. Cool. Question number 6. So, what is the master plan to onboard players at scale and at the same time to be able to reward early NFT holders? Very difficult question. I think to ask any project. I think not like almost no project probably has figured it out properly. Um, it's tricky to answer, and I think it's something that in the back we are talking about, but it's not something that we can really talk about in super detail. A, because it would spoil the mint pretty much, and B, it's also something that until we really announce the mint in more detail, I think that's there are a few things still in flux, to be honest.
Yeah, I won't add too much detail. What I can say is that this question is the exact question we're asking ourselves every day at this stage to finalize what's our strategy, what's our vision, how will we bring these two worlds combined. And something that gives me just a lot of excitement and positivity is that the team has a super interesting mix of perspectives. And I've just noticed in these first week and a half that I've been on the project with Fableborne is that I think we have this unique mix I haven't really seen in a lot of Web3 blockchain gaming companies of just super successful design team members that have built like a free-to-play Web2 game. And then we have like brilliant design in terms of blockchain and understanding of utility and long-term holding benefits. And we have this great friction within the team where you have like actual designers representing the different people who will play Fableborne. And yeah, that's what makes me looking forward to what's going to come next to Fableborne, because I think that friction will deliver a good combination to solve question number 6.
Exactly. And I think, onboarding players at scale, maybe just like to go back to that point as well, real quick, like we're building not a classical Web3 PFP game where, we just do a mint and then, you will play the game maybe like in 5 years to come. That's not what we're doing, right? So I think we're building the game already, and everything we want to build, right, is going to be accessible. I think that's one of the most important credos that we have within the company, is to make sure that the onboarding that we do is very user friendly and then also appealing to Web 2 now. That's also something that we're currently discussing exactly in more detail. And for now, of course, we are more focused towards Web 3 a little bit, but I think in the future, we are gonna be much broader with that and onboard and welcome everyone, to be honest, who wants to play the game, whether they come from mainstream or not.
Yeah, we play games for fun and to relax and to be transported into a different world in our lives. And it doesn't matter if you're into blockchain, if you're not into blockchain. And we just want to create an experience that's fun and people want to join and spend time together with one another. So yeah, we will find a good solution. I'm confident.
Exactly. As you said as well, like I think it's really important that everyone in the company, a lot of us are gamers, pretty much everyone, I think. And the second part is that we have like a good half of the company is coming from the classical mainstream gaming, so they have also an understanding of how to actually build a good game. Versus, I would say, Web3 specifically is struggling with that because a lot of people don't really have that background to actually create an amazing experience. Cool. We have a couple of other questions real quick. But that's so from Mr. JB, real quick. So will there be a selling option if we buy the resources from the shop by mistake? That's a question for Discord, actually. I think Maria is not aware. We do have like a item shop on Discord where people can buy items. In that case, just create a support ticket and we can refund the Discord currency. So don't worry about that. And then the last question, can we expect any tournaments or leaderboard contests again before the official release? Yes. We have a lot of things planned. You will have to follow us for a little bit longer and just stay tuned until we really release everything. Like, I'm sorry to tease so much, but you will see. Like, I think the team is super excited to bring you new contests, new competitions. We recently had our new community manager join as well and do the first event. So team size is increasing, which is really good. And now we can really focus about creating not only a great game, but also creating a great experience even outside of the game with competitions, with everything we want to do. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you know when you go to a food van, like a street food, and whilst you're waiting for your meal to be cooked, usually people come up to you and you're like, "Have a sample, enjoy, don't be hungry whilst you're waiting for your food." And like that's kind of the mindset that we also, because like Lucas said, we're all gamers. We've all been there where we really wanted to play a game and we had to wait for a long time, and so yeah, we don't want to leave you waiting in the queue for the food van without any appetizers. And so we're really focused as a team to figure out, okay, how can we deliver you a game in small bits that's fun whilst we're like cooking the main meal.
Exactly. Cool. And that pretty much closes the town hall. As always, we're going to release a VOD. So if you have any friends who want to catch up on Fableborne, just feel free to share it as well. It was an absolute pleasure to talk about everything that we talked about today. Thank you, Maria, for joining us. It was also an absolute pleasure. And hopefully you'll join the next one as well. It would be really amazing. And thank you
Yeah.
and thank you for everyone who was joining today. As always, really nice to see everyone from the community joining in. And yeah, cool, awesome. Thank you guys. Then see you soon, and see you in the next playtest as well. Cool, cool. Bye bye.
Bye everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.